Welcome to the Nightly Rant
with
your hosts, Mike
and Torya.
This is the show where we examine society from a sarcastic point of view.
If you like insane conversations, this is definitely the show for you.
Let's get into today's topic. So, we had a fun time with one of our Poochies this past weekend, 2 weekends ago.
Did we have the fun time or did he have the fun time?
I don't know about you, but I had a good time having him there.
That's fair.
Yogi came with us because we had to film a video for what happens in Vegas about art in Las Vegas. And so if you've never noticed something here in Vegas, we have a lot of murals and street art, sculptures that are just like out on the street.
It's very arty here.
Yes. It's a very artistic kind of town. And so we're doing a video about that topic.
Well, already did.
And yeah, it's out already actually on YouTube at youtube.com/@WHIV. But we took Yogi with us because one thing about Yogi, he's a really good behaved dog. He never misbehaves unless he's not feeling good. Like, he's just a good dog. But he has his little weird things, like all of a sudden he'll get jealous, and like you always call it Operation Fix Yog Dog.
You called it the first time, so I went with it.
You have to do it.
I'm here for it. Operation Fix Yog Dog is just giving him an obnoxious amount of focused attention.
Yeah, he
for
loves
like
it.
3 or 4 days.
He loves it.
And then he remembers that you actually like him, and he calms the F down.
So then, to avoid having to do Operation Yog Dog, over the years we've discovered that Yog Dog likes to have time alone with mama, time alone with daddy, and time alone with both mama and daddy at the same time.
Yeah.
So
he likes his people time without the other dogs.
Their time, and then he likes the our time. It's really cool. So we've learned that by doing that with him, you don't get the moody Yog Dog. You just get nice Yog Dog all the time. So this was one of those mommy, daddy, and Yog Dog days. And we go to downtown. Now, this dog is known for being the grass blade sniffer. Explain that to the people.
Every single leaf, every single blade of grass, it all must be thoroughly sniffed and occasionally watered. That's the Yog Dog mentality.
As I told somebody earlier today, if you were trying to walk the Yog Dog across a 20-foot wide strip of grass and you tried to move at full speed, and that maybe, let's say you could get across that grass in 10 seconds, it would probably take you 20 minutes because he has to sniff every inch of every blade of every piece of grass all the way across the 20 feet. And he loved the smells of downtown.
Yeah, the only thing he didn't really love is, so we walked one direction and then we had to walk back. The first time we walked, there was a person sleeping under a tarp. And I don't think Yogi thought anything of it. I think he just thought it was a tarp sitting there. Nobody
on the
moved.
Way in. On the way out.
On the way out, the person like rolled over underneath the tarp and he was like, oh!
And he was all scared. I'll say something. I've heard a lot of people talk bad about that area in general, like 3rd and Gas, that area. And they talk really bad about it. And quite honestly,
it was fine.
There's a lot of homeless people there, but it's a downtown. Of course there's going to be homeless people. That's where they hang out.
Well, they weren't really bothering anybody.
But they didn't bother anybody. And we walked right through. And the only thing the guy said was he saw me look at the guy on the bicycle and he said, "Oh, don't mind him. He's looking for his daughter." That was it.
He was hollering at the top of his lungs, bicycling up and down the street.
Yeah, he could see that I was a little concerned, like, why is this guy yelling? You know?
Right.
And he's like, yeah, don't worry about him. But I think it's true. If you act like a tourist and you stand around there with your jaw hanging to the ground at everything you're seeing, then you're going to get taken.
There really wasn't anything exciting to see down.
But when you
we were looking for a poetry walk that didn't appear to exist, or we were misdirected, which would not be the first time.
Yeah, I think if we had drilled down more, we just didn't have time. But if we had drilled down more into Google, we probably would have found its exact location. Kind of the way we found the old man based off of the pictures. But that's another one. She gets this list, right? And first it was like this PDF of this complete art walk. And it was like a huge art walk. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be like a 38-minute video easily. There's so much here. Then she says, no, we're not going to do that. We're going to use some of that. But we're going to do some of this other stuff too that I found that's cool. Like one thing was inside of City Hall.
That was on the art walk.
It's just cool. And So we go on that day and we're trying to find this poetry thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, where the hell is the poetry?
And it's
thing?
supposed to be in the sidewalk,
like-
covering 2 blocks.
Yeah, it's like the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
You'd
only
have thought
it's the
we'd have
Las
been able to
Vegas
find
Poetry Walk.
one poem.
We found none.
We found.
And we walked both sides of the street just to be
Right.
sure. And
We
of
were
course, don't
clearly
forget, we
misled.
also had the dog who has to sniff every sniff. So it wasn't like we were boogieing through there.
Unless all the poetry was under tarped homeless man, it wasn't there.
I suppose that's possible, but what
That
a
every
weird...
piece of poetry was under a homeless person.
But then the old man,
Yeah,
it told you it was at the transit center.
station, but
We
it's a
walked
full
around
block.
that entire transit center. It's a whole block away. You pass the coolest Starbucks drive-through I've ever seen. Like, it was so cool. It even had a really weird, different Starbucks sign than normal.
Yeah.
It didn't have the normal, like, cup logo. Maybe they're going to slowly do away with the cup logo. It's been around for a long time.
I saw... Can I change the subject for a second now? Speaking of Starbucks.
But let me finish where the old man was first, and then we can switch the topic. So we finally find the old man beyond the Starbucks with a really cool new sign. And it's like literally just like this giant piece of steel that's been like bent into different directions, probably with a torch, and then painted. It was cool enough. And it's literally like at a bus stop, but it's not at the transit center.
Yeah.
We walked everywhere in that transit center and couldn't find it.
I got frustrated.
Eagle
and I
Eye
was like,
found it.
this is City Hall in the background of this picture. We're going that way.
And then all of a sudden she goes, there it is. And I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
how did you find it? And
Yeah.
she found it because, like she said, in the background of the pictures that claimed it was Transit Center, she saw City Hall. And she's like, just walk this way until we see
Right.
the same exact angle.
Right.
And it's smart because eventually one of the streets had to look like that.
And either we were going to find it or we weren't, and we were heading back in the direction of the car.
Where
So
we
it
needed to
really
go.
didn't-
There was a win.
Did you read the thing about Starbucks where they're doing away with discounts and they just want to be a premium coffee brand? Like, how are
That'd
you
be the
not
end of me.
already?
That'd be the end of me going there.
I will go there one time per year to get my caramel brulee latte, and that is it.
I won't even do that. I can get a peppermint mocha from anywhere.
You do you, but I cannot get the caramel brulee latte from anywhere.
Taking Yogi to pivot back to downtown, it made me think about their little doggy personalities, because people dismiss animals all the time. Oh, it's just a cat. It's just a dog. I'm sorry, but we have a cat, Jasper, that if you leave for a while and have someone else come in and feed him, when you come home, he's angry with you for at least 24 hours. At least.
Every member of our zoo has a unique personality and a unique way of handling situations.
100%. And then one likes one thing, the other hates it. It's a strange thing. Yogi, like we said, his personality is he likes his little us, them, our time.
Right.
And he's not one who's big on alone time. He doesn't love to be alone.
No,
But-
he'd rather hang out with the other dogs than by himself.
So that's Yogi. Then you have Bree, who is like psycho of the group.
Like a toddler
Yeah.
mixed with a crackhead.
Yeah, she has so much energy.
And as we're
She's-
saying this, she's sitting underneath the desk, lightly licking her feet, going, what are you talking about?
She's so vocal, like talks. She's the chattiest dog I've ever owned.
You want to know the funniest thing about the Saurus that I think is the funniest thing? So you watch those YouTube videos, right? And there's that one that they use the animated cow.
Yep.
Every time the animated cow pops up, someone has to yodel at it.
Yeah, she barks at him.
She's mad at the cow. She's mad at every animal that appears on the TV. If she hears police dogs barking on the
It's
TV,
allowed in our house.
woof woof.
It's her house, and she will not have that.
Exactly.
She is defending her space. But you're
More
right.
like she's defending her toy that she's
But
actively
yes, but you're right. She is funny. Like when we go to the park in the morning, you open the door to go, and she's the only one we don't leash because she's so hyper that she'll tie up the other dogs. So
well,
I
and
keep
she's
her
so
under
ball
control.
obsessed. You can
I keep her under control with her ball. That's like her thing. So she watches me the whole time with the ball, and we walk. And then as soon as we get in the park, I give her the ball.
Whenever you switch her toy, like she has her normal ball, then she has a soccer ball, then she has a frisbee, then she has a football. She's a
Yeah,
couple
there's
of
even more
other
than that, yeah.
things. Those are the main ones. Every time you switch to a new one,
She
yodel.
yodels. She's excited.
Top of her lungs, yodel.
And she's really sweet because she'll play with the same thing forever. But you're right. She likes to get it switched once in a while.
Right. And I swear, if you ask her, hey, Bree, do you want to go? to whatever. The moon, to California, to
That.
the backyard.
This dog's always ready to go somewhere.
I'm surprised she didn't yodel it. Said it just now, actually.
She's interesting, though, because unlike Yogi, who likes his time with just us, she is not like that. She doesn't want to go out with just you or just me. She wants to go out with you and me and her siblings. That's what she likes, because then she worries about them at home and we're away. And so then she's not very good in the car when that happens. So we always have to bring all of them before bringing her. And that I find an interesting 180-degree opposite between Yogi and Bree. Wants her pack. Yogi, not so much.
And then there's Doug.
The curmudgeon. I call him the curmudgeon. He's old. He's 11.
He's cranky.
He's going to be 12 in 6 months. So he's 11 and a half.
Yep.
He's cranky. He was really badly abused before we got him, and it took a lot of patience on my part and Torya's part to pull him out of his shell. I work in my office, and my office is right off of the living room. Every time I would get up to go refill my water bottle or get some snack or something, I always say hello to Yogi because he's always asleep on the couch. And then I would just stop by Doug, pat him on the head, scratch him a little bit, move on. Sometimes I would do 2 things to him, sometimes only 1. But I'd always do something, or I'd give him a little peck on the top of his head with my mouth, a quick little kiss. He, over time, would start wagging his tail. I would come at him. And so I knew he was liking this. Now he loves me. Like he hated me before, and now he loves me. And it's interesting because he's doing exactly what I predicted. He's loving me like 20% of the time, and he's loving you the other 80% of the time.
He has to sleep on my side of the bed. Absolutely must. And in order for me to get any sleep while he's sleeping on my side of the bed, I made him a nest. It's a king-size fleece sheet that I have twisted into a little bed for the dog. And if he doesn't have his nest, he sleeps in the most uncomfortable positions possible against me so that I don't get any sleep at all.
Well, and that's another...
But he couldn't possibly sleep on your side of the bed. Never, ever.
But then that's another issue that we create, because then Bree wants the nest. So Douglas moves out of the nest, Bree moves in. And then Douglas is mad that Bree has moved into his nest. Right. And he wants his nest back. And so there's this constant bickering of those 2 knuckleheads about a nest. That's why I like Yogi so much. I take back one thing I said. He does like his alone time. He goes down under the bed,
licks his toy,
the toy, until he decides he wants to come up onto the bed. That's at nighttime. During the daytime, he's not a loner. He just does his own thing. They all do their own thing during the day. But the dogs, I think people are crazy to say that dogs don't understand or don't remember, or they're all the same. They're not, and you can't treat them like they're all the same either, because Bree, will not respond to aggressive approach. It'll shut her right down. And then you're not going to get what you want out of it. And Doug's the same way. But Yogi wouldn't care.
No.
He understands that you could pick him up off the ground real quick and then give him a kiss on the head. He gets it. He's startled, but then he's, oh, okay.
Right.
Everything's good. And that's good, because you never know when danger strikes and you might need to grab him and pick him up. He's used to it. He's not going to bite you.
If you alarm him too much, sometimes he'll
nip here. Yeah, he'll nip at you. But then he realizes and then he settles down. And I just find it interesting that people dismiss dog temperament like that.
Yeah.
And we have 3 very unique, different personalities of dog.
They all have things in common, but they're all different.
But I would have to say, and I said this to you earlier today, I think we have 3 really good dogs. I don't have complaints about these dogs.
I think we have 2 good dogs and a good sheep.
And yeah, Douglas would be the sheep. They're just so, I don't know how to put it. They're just really behaved, kind, gentle animals 99% of the time. The other 1% of the time, they're your typical animal. They do stupid things, and that is what it is.
Like surf on the kitchen counters and steal things that don't belong to her?
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Like an entire bag of Chili's chips, most of a cinnamon loaf, leftover Douglas food.
That's the one trait of Bree we forgot to mention, and then we'll close this out, is that Bree, all of a sudden, since we've moved to Vegas, has picked up a habit of counter surfing.
While we're not home.
When we're not home.
If she smells it, she's getting it.
And I think she stakes it out while we're here.
Totally. She knew those chips were there.
He's just a nutcase. So that's our doggy personality. At some point in the near future, we'll talk about our kitty cat personality because our little kitty cat kingdom is very interesting.
They're pests.
They're
Just
very
kidding.
interesting.
They are very
kitty
interesting.
cats. That's all I got for you, people.
Good night, everyone.
Hasta la bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Nightly Rant.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Google Play.
If you didn't enjoy the show, please just ignore that previous request for a rating.
This has been a Yogi's Podcast Network production.